Football without fans is nothing. It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch it, it becomes nothing.
Johnston. And a goal by Johnston. That makes it 2 by him.
We were magnificent. Magnificent.
Larson. Oh, he's in. Henrik Larsson. That is sensational. Nakamura.
The game is over. The Rebels have won.
He's done it! Jarman's put it in, and without a doubt, the European Cup is on its way.
We'll never stop. We'll stop at half time and we'll stop at the end of the game when we celebrate.
Howdy, 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 ho.
Howdy, 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 ho.
What were you doing? I love our intro. I know we said it before when we first got it up, but I love our intro and I love the wee ending bit with Anne just giving us a wee fucking pep talk there.
Oh, aye.
Very good. Aye. Welcome to the viewers. Jungle Jim's Tuesday TikTok. So it is the 3rd of May and we've got Paddy and McGinty in the house. And by the way, to the viewers, if you're new to it, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, and of course, ring that bell. Paddy, how are you doing this evening?
Ring my bell. Ooh, ooh. Sorry. Get a wee bit carried away there once. Anyway, lads, it's no karaoke yet.
You sick bastards.
Forget me, how you?
Totally
I'm good, man.
unintentional.
It's a good
Totally
day.
unintentional, I believe. Totally unintentional.
It's been a good day. I think we've woken up to a couple of bits of news in the last couple of days. The appointment of Mark Lawwell, which I'm sure is going to be a good talking point, and the Player of the Year awards have been divvied at Celtic, so that's all good to hear and good to see. So good to be back on the podcast. Lots of good positive things to talk about for Celtic.
Totally, mate. Paddy, how you doing?
Correctly, aye. Yes, what are you drinking, McGinty? What is that? Is that fucking...
The original Budweiser, Budvar,
Ooh.
if we shall.
Really? Huh? Cool.
There's a story behind it, apparently, but it's nice.
And again, to the viewers, give us your comments tonight. That's what Tuesday is all about. Right, okay, so a few things to talk about. Obviously, the kind of the dust is settled after the weekend result, the 1-1 draw with Rangers at Parkhead, and of course we're within touching distance of the league. 3 games to go, 6 points ahead, and an insurmountable goal difference to our advantage. So pretty much one victory will give us the league title. So happy days with that. And if you put it in context of the start of the season, you know what I mean, how bleak it was back then to where we are now, very, very much happy days. We've also got the news about our new appointment, a backroom appointment to the Celtic family, and it's a name that will certainly be familiar to a lot. And we've got reports from the Portuguese media. We've had the Player of the Year awards. And of course, we have the On This Day topic as well. So, Paddy, where do you want to start off?
Probably at the beginning.
At the beginning? You mean Jen?
1887?
Well, listen, I'm joking, mate. I was just being a wee bit sarcastic. I'm sorry. Well, obviously, like yesterday, the day before, the day before, the news came out, says that because of the whole situation with Russia and the sanctions and everything that's coming in. So basically, there's been another sanction in European football for the Ruskies, which is now confirming that whoever wins the Scottish Premiership this year will get automatic group stage Champions League football straight off the bat. No qualifiers, no nothing, right in there. So, as you say, Gav, 3 points to win the league. Not just 3 points to win the league, mate. 3 points to get into the Champions League proper as well. So on Saturday could be a double celebration, mate, and I'm fucking looking forward to it.
It's going to be good. As we saw across the world in terms of sport, a lot of the sanctions against Russia, they were going to get excluded from various sports. One of the kind of the most publicised ones was Wimbledon. So yeah, I think that's the way that the wind was blowing. Now, as you said, Paddy, Russian teams have been excluded from European participation. So it allows us to get in. That takes away any doubt of Villarreal winning. I think if Villarreal had won the Champions League, it would have been kind of scuppered our pathway. But we're in. That's it. So McGinty, how happy are you at that? It's been a long time. How many years has it been?
Sorry, mate. Just McGinty, just before you answer that, mate, here's a question for Gav for Woodsy. Evening, guys. Gav, is the German top in honour for Leipzig?
Mate, I think apart from the Celtic tops that are aware, this might be the only one that you actually give the thumbs up to. So, of course, it will be an affirmative to that question.
Aye. Where were we? Sorry, what was the question?
Sorry, mate.
I'm forgetting how many years it's been since Celtic have actually been in the Champions League proper. But how excited are you for it?
Massively. It has been a little bit too long, but do we need to go back to Brendan Rodgers?
Well,
I don't think Brendan made it at all, did he?
Brendan Rodgers' his first season was the last time we were in the group stages.
Even that far back? So you're going back, 5 entire seasons have went and gone in that time. So it's massive to be back there. As a club, I remember, was it Peter Lawwell who came out a good few years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, and did the whole we need to make it 2 and 5 years sort of thing. I don't think he said the words to break even or anything like that, but heavily alluding to that's kind of where we budget our situation on a kind of medium term, is that we need to do 5 years. In 5 years, we need to hit the Champions League twice to make sure that we don't need to basically be a selling club. I don't think we're quite there in most recent times. I think the fact that we do sell big name players quite often and get a lot of money, I don't think we quite need Champions League football as desperately for the money in that regards that we need it to, keep trading at a level. I think player sales is making up for that and then some. But this is the first time in a long time. When was the last time we got direct entry into the Champions League, actually? Because this is going to be the first time in my recent memory anyway that I think we can be assured, and this will come on to the conversation about Mark Lawwell and Ange Postecoglou later on, but this could be the first time that we actually go into a Champions League group stage straight off the bat, knowing that there's a 30 to 40 million pound windfall right there. Not any of this. We'll budget, maybe if we get into it, then maybe release a bit more funds. No, we've got the money to go out and spend it on your Jotters, your Carter Vickers, and whoever else you need after that. This is fantastic news. As a Celtic fan going into the pre-season, knowing that we've got money to actually push it out a little bit, we're not going to be sitting waiting until we see where we're at in Europe. We're going to go for it, hopefully. So yeah, exciting as hell.
And by the way, as a couple of guys have pointed out, how could we forget? It is Happy Albert Kid Day, everybody.
So I'll just on this day, 36 years ago, 1986, the 3rd of May, and Celtic went into the final game of the season. Hearts were top of the table, and there was a 4-goal swing that we had to overcome. Celtic beat St Mirren 5-0 at Love Street in Paisley, just up the road from me. And Hearts were playing Dundee at Dens Park. And a man called Albert Kidd, who's now famous, scored a couple of goals. And that was the swing that we needed. Going into it, that goal swing required was, it looked insurmountable, but we overcame it. And for Celtic in that 5-0 game against St Mirren, Brian McClare, Johnson, McClare get 2, Johnson get 2, McStay get 1. And as we know, Albert Kidd, he got a couple as well for Dundee at Dens Park. And I think I was still in the womb at that point. So I couldn't tell you what it was like, but the people at Frank Redding that.
Was it the living room or the bedroom?
The living room. The jokes are poor tonight, lads.
So for the people who were actually alive during that time, tell us what it was like. Tell us what it was like going into the game beforehand. Like, were you pessimistic? Was there a ray of hope? And by the way, Brian McClare, he scored 2 that day. 1 year later, again on the 3rd of May, but in 1987, that was his last ever game for Celtic. He then went on to join Manchester United, and he made a name for himself down south. But what a day it was! What a day it was! Albert Kidd. That's why they call it Albert Kidd Day. Right, okay, so to the viewers, people who were alive that day, give us your comments. What was it like? What was the feeling before the game, after the game, the euphoria? Tell us more, tell us more. We've got one for Anthony Ingalls. All right, boys, can't wait for Saturday to pump the diets. And then my birthday on Sunday, where hopefully Dundee United take points off Sefco. We wish you many, many happy returns, mate. All the best. Paddy, going back to the Champions League thing, how much of an advantage is it for Celtic to go through the summer without having that uncomfortable time on the sphincter of having to go through the qualification rounds? How many is it? Is it like 4 qualification rounds that we need to traverse through? And now we're going to go straight into the group stage. How much of an advantage is it for the Celtic players, the squad, to actually go through that?
I'll tell you, mate, it's obviously an advantage for the squad because they know that if we secure the league on Saturday, that's where they're going. That's where the aim is for every season, is to get into the Champions League. So that's there. That carrot isn't even dangling in front of your face anymore. They'll be chewing on the carrot on Saturday. But the good thing is as well, mate, like the news that came through yesterday about Mark Lawwell being appointed, they can now focus their entire task now by saying to players, if you come to Celtic, you have got the Champions League there. It's not a case of come to Celtic, come and try and help us get to the Champions League. No, it's here, listen, there you go, Champions League, let us in.
Is it, Barry, there's been a lot of that kind of read between the lines situations the last few years where that's been one of those stumbling blocks or excuses, if you will, that we've not been able to get transfer deals over the lines, is that we can't offer the Champions League. Players don't want to come just to play in the Europa or rest it. A whole host of other reasonings, legitimately, of course, come out as well. But this is one of those ones we can actually turn around. And maybe that ties in with some of the news that we're hearing about Jota today as well. I think it was with the translations from this Portuguese press conference thing that he did, where he's actually very willing and very open to staying at Celtic and being a Celt next year as well. Has that maybe been spurred on by the fact that they have all but secured guaranteed Champions League football next year? It's that carrot, isn't he, just dangling, as Paddy says? They're now chewing on it. So Jota knows he's playing in Europe. He's playing in the Champions League next year. He knows he's got adulations of fans. He knows he's playing good football. We all know Jota's not going to be here for more than 2 years after he signs a permanent deal anyway. But there you go. He's, 23? You've got a couple of years at Celtic, Champions League football. He'll move on to somewhere big next after Celtic. No doubt. But it'll be good to have him.
Great White Legend City. Was at the game at Love Street with his wee brother, mate. I hope you remember it well. Let us know what it was like. What was the feeling like going into the game? Was it just like a threadbare of hope? What was it like? And after the game, like, I'm surprised if you still remember after the game, if you were old enough to drink. Albert Kidd, I was 13 listening on to Radio Clyde, the boys winning the league as the Diets bottled it. In 1888 CFC, I was 10 years old in 1986. So what a time to be alive.
So you're nearly 50. You're nearly 50 now.
Well, we're nearly 40, man. We're exactly 10 years younger than you, mate, because we were all born in 1986. Paddy, again, talking about the direct entry into the Champions League, do you think sometimes whenever you play the qualifiers, when you know you have to play qualifiers before the season starts, do you think that can be a hindrance or an advantage going into the league to make how whenever you go into the SPL and to the domestic fixtures, do you think having the qualifications beforehand kind of gets you warmed up, or do you think it can be a disadvantage because you might already be kind of tired out mentally from the
I know. Listen, I would say that every time, excuse me, it's a massive hindrance because you're travelling. You're not just travelling kind of local in terms of Europe. you're travelling to the fucking east end of the arsehole of Europe most times, you know what I mean? You're fucking playing up in mountains or somewhere mental, or you're playing on a plastic pitch with sheep and
or technically in Asia.
Yes. Fucking Kazakhstan. So listen, the travel's a nuisance. The extra burden of the extra games is a nuisance. You're having to take away. You're having to squeeze in a pre-season in between Champions League qualifying games here, there, and everywhere. So this is massive for us, mate. It allows us to kind of focus our attention on pre-season, how we want to work, how we want to operate, what new things the manager wants to try. If we get any new players in at that time, it's just into pre-season. It's get their fitness up. It's get to know their teammates, get to know the layout, get to know the way that the manager wants. It's no pressure of, right, you're just in the door. Tomorrow we need to go to Hungary and play fucking FK Hungarian, you know, for a big qualifier, something that the club really needs. And there's going to be 4 rounds of that. So that's 8 games that you're losing it on. Like you're no having to play anymore. So like absolutely massive, mate. And as I say, not just in terms of that, but I think maybe the appointment of Mark Lawwell, that has kind of coincided with this news that's came about, because we were technically still waiting to find out if the winners of the league got that automatic promotion. But then, of course, the news came out, and then I can't remember if it was the same day or the next night, but then it was officially announced on the Celtic website that Lawwell was going to be coming in. So I think that's been a factor of making everything official, getting the guy in and saying, right, here we go. You've been at Man City for 10 years. You've been the head of transfers. You've dealt with bringing in the guys like Aguero, De Bruyne, you know, all these massive...
I don't think he was quite that high up.
We'll get on to it.
But yeah, he's been there for decades. His experience is vast.
He's part of the City group as well. So there's all the contacts, every single thing that he's linked in with, massive databases of players. As I say, contacts across the world, not just in Europe. You're talking Asia, China, Indonesia, places like that. So it's a massive, massive appointment, and it's only something that's can only be a benefit to Celtic, especially since Ange says he's worked with them for the last 4 years. So surely to God, they know exactly what they're doing.
Another thing I was going to kind of say about an advantage without having to play the European qualifier is that the people who look as if they need a rest right now, they're going to get a fucking good rest over the holiday.
Well, that was something I was just looking at there, Gavin, quickly on the side. So the first game of the season this season was against Hearts on the 31st of July. The last game of this season is actually going to be on the 14th of May. You're talking a good 10 plus weeks off before we play a competitive game. Okay, we're going to play pre-season stuff in there. We could go on a little tour maybe, you know. But that's 10 weeks off for these guys to get a proper, maybe even a 4 or 5 weeks proper off, and then a good 5 weeks of an actual building up into a pre-season, actually go through proper motion. This could be a massive thing for us, not just financially, but getting all these guys better conditioned and better ready for the start of the new season.
Some brilliant comments coming in. McGinty, I heard every word that you said.
I know you did, mate. I know you did.
I'm also reading the comment. I'm hanging on to every comment here right now because, you know, Paddy, these people were there, they experienced it. And at one point, we'll be of that generation where we're telling the younger kids what it was like.
About seeing quadruple trebles and shit like that. It's going to be fucking brilliant.
Exactly. But these guys were there in 1986. And by the way, that was Davy Hayes' only league title as Celtic manager. We never done it until, 2 years later for the centenary year. So these guys were living that history. They were there, first-hand accounts of what it's been like. So I think that's great to have that first-hand account on the podcast. Loving the comments, guys.
Look at this one here, for Wednesday.
Paddy, you've mentioned the name several times, so apparently it's on the tip of your tongue. So Mark Lawwell, son of Peter, is the new head of first team scouting and recruitment. Now he is 10 years as the City Football Group head of scouting and recruitment, so obviously doing a similar job. However, the responsibility that he had as City Football Group is that they were part owners of 10 different clubs across the world. He worked with Ange previously at Yokohama Marinos because they were part owned by the City Football Group. And Mark Lowell, he will join in readiness for the summer transfer window. So, guys, let's make the viewers aware of what we already know. So, he knows Ange, he knows how his team plays, he knows the required player profile. There's already an existing relationship built on trust. And Ange admits that he was already very, very keen for this man to join him. However, we know that there's a certain sector of football fans. I don't know if it's present here with McGinty. I do not know. But there's a certain sector of Celtic football fans who are already, after the past few years, they're already predisposed to a certain negativity towards jobs for the boys. And as Shakespeare himself said, yes, check out the Culture Nerd podcast. Shakespeare said, the sins of the father will be laid upon the children. So, McGinty, I'm going to start with you, mate. What is your overriding feeling of Mark Lowell, son of Peter, joining the Celtic family?
So I like to think that I'm a very complex and working on multiple levels and channels all one time, always, and I can feel multiple things about one subject. Totally blowing smoke up my own arse for some reason.
What are you talking about?
No. I don't know what's up with me today.
Fucking that was a bit of Shakespeare there.
I bow down it's not like most things in life. This isn't just one or the other, black or white. You can't just be totally against the appointment or totally for it without some sort of appreciation why some people would be upset and angry, or appreciation why it is a fucking good appointment. Let's be honest. You guys have already said it already. I've alluded to it as well a little bit. As Gavin says, 10 plus years at the City Group. The City Group is, I'm not saying Man City is the biggest and most experienced team in the world. I'm not saying anything like that. But the City Football Group is the biggest footballing group in world football right now. He's been at the biggest club of that group, who are absolutely massive. And at one point in time, before Newcastle got bloody, decorated in billions of pounds, the richest club in the world. You don't work for that club and that group for over a decade unless you're good at something. Now, we've just poached this guy. He was always destined to end up being employed by Celtic in some capacity. And for years, he probably has unofficially been helping Celtic. Let's not kid on. He's a son of Peter Lawwell. Of course, he was giving wee nudges and winks to certain players. We had the benefit of being kind of not in bed, but kind of being close and pally with Man City unofficially. All the loan signings that we've had, Deniers, your boy Attas coming through, Roberts, Neecham coming in, Guidetti, all the rest of it. Even Frimpong came through from there. I know Gavin's ready for bursting out laughing here.
No, I'm still laughing at your comment about.
I know. But what I want to get to is basically saying that this appointment, on the face of it, a guy who's worked with Ange before, no rest it, is an absolute fantastic appointment for a club the size of Celtic in modern football. It is a fantastic appointment. However, I think we can take a few other assumptions and safely assume that, one, Mark Lowell's been having a hand at Celtic for a lot longer than officially he has been from today, because clearly I think now we can all establish that that's how we knew about Ange Postecoglou, was through the City Group, which comes via Mark to Peter. Perfect. It's done us well, getting Ange in. I think it's also safe to assume that there is still that connection with Peter Lawwell and the old ways of the club.
What's he laughing at?
I have no idea. But the old ways of how the club have operated the last few years. And yeah, for a lot of people, it'll be job for the boys in some aspects. However, it's a good job for the boys in the sense that we're getting a quality player, a quality staff member in, but it is still the old board. They've signed Nicholson as a director of football after tipping the toes in the waters of Don Mackay, and that clearly never worked out. They brought in Ange, who's been linked previously via Mark Lowell and all this, and now we're bringing Mark Lowell in on a permanent basis. It's all great news on the face of it, but we have to be wary of how this club operates, because once the good feel factor leaves Celtic, once Ange leaves us, what's next? And we should always be questioning this current board.
Paddy, we've seen that there was a kind of criticism about an old, out-of-touch board. Peter Lawwell is out the way. We've brought in Michael Nicholson, and now we have another man of his kind of generation in Mark Lawwell. So is this part of a new change that you're happy to see, that you're encouraged by, that you've got optimism behind?
I think that the words of Don Mackay at the start of the season, when he spoke about kind of bringing Celtic up another level and bringing us into this kind of new age of football, I think this is probably, I think it's in line with that, because you look at the guys that we've brought in already, mate. We've brought in a couple of guys. So the first guy who was appointed under Postecoglou's reign was Anton Macallan from
the physio fitness guy.
Basically spent 10 years at Spurs, wasn't it? And
Spurs then end up in the USA at one point.
Or
something, but he's realised where his bread is buttered in the sense of, there's a physio coaching he's doing. I can't remember. Nutrition.
I think it's kind of how dare you? I think it's kind of sports science and nutrition, as Gav says. So he's overseen all that. Then we brought in the young Portuguese guy, the data analyst, and his name escapes me every single time I go to say it. I want to say Pedro, but that might sound a bit kind of racist or something.
Pedro Leon. Don't ask. I'm just going to mute myself.
So the Portuguese data analyst has come in, so that's another guy that's obviously looking at data, analysing. That's kind of new age kind of stuff on the computer, look at stats, analysis, player running, this kind of thing as well. And now, where we've been lacking big time, because as we know, people have had to step in and help out with transfers, as we spoke about on camera and off camera. Now we've got a guy in with a massive, massive pedigree. The guy's CV is about that fucking long. Take away the name Lawwell, right? Because if there's people out there focusing on the fact that his name's Lawwell, I think you really need to get a grip of yourself. And I get it. I get that the first thought that would cross into your mind is, oh, it's Lawwell's boy. It's going to be penny pinching. It's going to be this. Just simmer down, shut up, and look at it as it is. This is a guy coming from Man City with a massive, massive pedigree. And it's not just the fact that he's coming from Man City and the City group, it's the fact the size of the City group. We talk about Postecoglou's contacts, the database that he's built up of players, all the knowledge and kind of contacts that he's got all over the world. This guy is coming here to elevate Postecoglou's vision. And for him to be coming in at a time where, as I said earlier on, we've just been granted fucking automatic entry into the group stages. It's a massive weight off the mind, and it puts us further forward in the position where we can now start to go and approach players and say, come, this is now a Champions League club. It's not a club trying to get into the Champions League. This is where you want to be. If you want to go to England, that's fine. If you want to go to Germany or fucking France or Spain, whatever, that's fine. Come here first. He's 2 years. Go and play in the Champions League and put yourself into the shop window. But first and foremost, come. And it also helps with the pursuits of, I sounded like Hugh Keevins there, the pursuits. The pursuing of Jota and Carter Vickers. Because if they're teetering on the brink of saying, no, I want to go back to Benfica or I want to go back and have a crack at England, you can now say to them, what for? You're going to have a crack at the Champions League. If he's want to come here, stay. Come and be a big part of this. We've got all the money. We are the best and most handsome team in Scotland with the best history, unbroken. Come, it's a great place.
We have such, just on that point, Paddy, man, we have such a selling point right now with the Mark Lowell connection out officially. And we can sell ourselves as, no, we're not part of the City group yet. But we can sell ourselves just, yeah, I read that one. Brilliant Red Scotland to hear that as well. The people will go back and actually what we say actually. Well, you guys did it, but what you're actually saying is actually ringing true. But we can sell ourselves on having a guy like Mark Lawler with his CV. People understand that in the football world who these guys are. That brings people towards us that we're at a certain level. Champions League sells it and all the rest of it. We can sell ourselves right now with everything else that's happened in the last 5 to 10 years at Celtic, regarding transfers. We can sell ourselves to Carter Vickers or anybody else for that matter and say, look, you might not be quite hitting your level that you want to at Spurs or Liverpool's or whatever, but you know fine well you can come to Celtic, we'll give you Champions League, we'll give you a fair wage, you're working under now some quality staffings and playing in the Champions League. Look at what happens to a few of our players. Tierney goes to Arsenal direct. Dembele goes to Lyon, who then goes on to Atletico Madrid. And
who's here? Can I ask who's doing Morse code right now?
Mute yourself.
Contacting the Germans.
Well, he's got you right here. But yeah, we can sell ourselves so well right now as a great, massive stepping stone into the bigger leagues in Europe, into the big clubs, into your Atletico Madrids, your Lyons, your Arsenals. I dare say you could get people going into Germany, into Dortmund and stuff. We're getting our youngsters poached, and I usually use this as a massive negative. We're getting our youngsters poached off us by Liverpool and Bayern Munich. Now, that's a whole different ballgame, a whole different level. But if we can get Carter Vickers not up to scratch, but if we can get him up to a level in the Champions League, then they can then go on elsewhere and say, look, I can walk straight into a Liverpool squad, because Liverpool can't be far off saying, you know what, sack paying 75 million for Van Dijk off Southampton when they signed him for 12. Let's just go straight to the well.
And I think what you say there, mate, I think teams in England are now starting to kind of respect us a wee bit, and that sense is like if you overlook a player like a Van Dijk or fucking an Edward, somebody like that, Dembele, whatever, there is a potential there that you're going to miss out on said player, and you're going to have to go and pay fucking nearly 100 million in a couple of years. So go and take the chance, but that's kind of further down the line. You know what I mean? We're just in a great position now where we can now go in this position of strength and make our team better, bigger, more handsome. Do you know what I mean? We don't need to be. We're not on the back foot. Last season was the back foot. The season before that, we were in the position of strength and absolutely made the biggest asset in Celtic's fucking history. But as I say, this season was a reactionary season again, and it's worked out, which it has done at times for Celtic, because we've always been reacting to losing, and we've had to go out and try and rectify that. But this season,
this season coming, this summer coming, Paddy, this is one of the very few times that we can be proactive.
That's what I mean.
Where we've got the windfall sitting there. Okay, technically we won't get it until later on next season, of course, but we've got the windfall there. We can now go out and say, you know what? Okay, we're not going to spend 35, 40 million. Of course we're not. But we can go out and spend the 10 million or so it is to get Jota and Carter Vickers over the line, and another 10 million to get a left back and a centre mid, as we talked about the other day, and solve our problems.
Guys, compare and contrast now compared to 2, 3, 4 years ago. Whether you be the Celtic manager, whether you be the chief executive, whether you be the recruitment guy, so whether you're going to be Lawwell, Ange Postecoglou or Nicholson, you've been the front face of Celtic and talking to a player or a player's agent now compared to 2, 3, 4 years ago, and saying what we've got right now. Yeah, we've got our young progressive manager, Ange Postecoglou. He's the player of the fucking year right now, north of the border in Scotland. Not only that,
even South, he's getting rave reviews. Reviews.
We've got a young squad, young talented squad playing exciting football. And by the way, we're playing in the Champions League. Do you want to sign for us? Compare this now, our position of strength. If you've had any experience in sales about like pushing your own advantage, what we've got right now compared to 2, 3, 4 years ago is night and day. We're in such a strong advantage that we can go with confidence and talk to these players, these agents, and say, this is what we've got to offer. Are you in or are you out? We only want people who want to play for Celtic. It's such an exciting time right now for Celtic.
And this is a kind of comment that ties in with my my optimism and my thinking about the Lawwell signing coming in to assist Ange. So Red Scotland, can't remember his name, but the kid Leipzig half.
Is that the young Portuguese striker Andre Silva, or are we talking about Nkoku?
Probably him. No. It's Adeyemi. I think it's the other. It's Adeyemi. I think he's talking about. I can't remember his name, but the kid Leipzig who have just got in the team and scored 30 plus goals this season. It's the type of young player market we need to exploit. Sign them before they emerge. Absolutely, and that's what we've been doing for the last 10, 12, 15 years. But now, the type of market that we've been scouting in, we can only move up a few levels now because we've got a greater. You've got a greater net to cast. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot more fishes in the sea that we can go after.
I would love to find a message that I posted on the forums years ago, and exactly like that. So go back 12, 14 years ago when we were selling Aidan McGeady. What did we sell him for? 10 million in 2010?
Yeah.
And from that point, it wasn't quite 2010. I made this comment, but a few years after that. But around about that point, we're selling players for 10 million-ish. And we were then going out and spending your £2 to £3 million on certain players, and they were our gems as such. And we all know how many strikers we signed for £2 to £3 million, and we're absolutely woeful. But I made this comment, and it sounds pure like I'm just claiming shite after the fact. But I did make a comment that exactly again what Paddy's saying. We did that way back then. After you do that for a prolonged period of time, you eventually are able to accumulate enough money where you can turn around and say, well, actually, we're not buying £2 to £3 million players anymore. We're going to buy £5 to £7 million players. We did that with Edward and Julian. We're going to do it with Jota, hopefully. And we're getting that kind of caliber of player. And you can see the difference in the caliber of players. But in that time, our players went from selling for 10 million to 15 million to 20 to 25 million. And we're going to now sign Jota, hopefully, for what, 6.5 million it's going to be. And can anybody not see him selling in 2 years' time from Celtic for 25 plus? If he continues as great as he's been this year, he's just going to get better, hopefully. But even if he just stays exactly at the level he's at, consistency, he'll go for double figures easily.
But again, these are the selling points that when you're behind the scenes, like in the transfer room or whatever, this is what you're saying to agents, because you're having to sell the club, you're having to sell the manager, you're having to sell the team, having to sell the competitions that they're going to be playing in. So now it's not just a case of, right, you're going to come here to Celtic if you want to sign. You're going to be playing 3 domestic trophies, try and win a treble. You're going to be trying to beat that other fucking mob. You're going to be coming in and trying to negotiate fucking 8 ties to get into the Champions League. That's the kind of glass ceiling is getting into the Champions League. If we don't do that, then we've got the Europa League to fall back on, and then if we get to the Europa League, we've still got a chance at now getting into the fucking Europa sexy Conference League. It's not, that's at the window now. You don't need to fucking dance about that, and try and sell a lesser market, because we all want to be in the Champions League. That's where we want to be. Now it's a case of, hey, come to Celtic, we've won the league, we've won a cup. Next year we're going to try and go for the treble, we're going to try and go for domestic dominance, and you're going to be in the Champions League. You're going to have at least fucking 6 games in the Champions League, and then we're going to aim to try and get through into the fucking, at the very least, dropping into the Europa League.
Obviously.
You know what I mean? So again, levels are just going up and up all the time, and that's the way it should be until you get to a point where your club is steadily playing in the Champions League, steadily qualifying for it, and it's something that we've not done.
That brings me to another point I've made for years, especially with my old man. So Celtic is a club. Let's be honest, we are, Palman, how you doing? We are top dogs for the last 2 decades in Scottish football, and that's brilliant. That's great. Nobody can take anything away from us. 4 trebles on the bounce, or rest of it, I'm thinking. And it's absolutely fantastic. But at that same time, especially in recent years, you have to look at Celtic and realise that we're actually in the European stage. We're relegation fodder in a hypothetical league setup of European clubs. We're way down at the bottom of relegation. We need to get ourselves into a steady mid-table in that kind of metaphorical league there. We need to get ourselves from being in the pot 4 in the Champions League when we randomly make it to actually being top end pot 3, potentially sneaking into the bottom end of pot 2. And let's not kid ourselves on anything in pot 2 and above is light years away from us in terms of finances and resources at this stage. Completely pie in the sky to think we can do anything great in the Champions League, but we can certainly be strong pot 3 contenders, and we need to build on that to get to that point, you see, Paddy, to be in the Champions League consistently every year, showing ourselves up in a great way where we do make the last 16, the last 8, be that surprise package that gets to maybe even the quarterfinals or the semi-finals. Real surprise package if we get to the semi-finals of the Champions League. That is real, dreamland stuff at this current time. But there's no reason why a club the size of Celtic can't do exactly what Ajax did, 3 years ago when they got to the semi-final of the Champions League. They're similar size. Their turnover's not that greatly different from us. We can manage better than what we're doing.
Well, talking about European progression, I think we all agree that depends on a plan, a direction, and that man is epitomised by Ange Postecoglou, but also needs to be backed up by recruitment. And as we were talking about recruitment, the reports from the Portuguese media is that Jota is now willing, apparently, to sign for Celtic, and the reported figure is 6.5 million. So I think that figure was already agreed at the start of the deal that we struck with Benfica. So, and by the way, I think it's understandable that people like Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers, who are in this position with a loan with the acquiesce to buy, they'll only probably commit once Champions League is pretty much there on the doorstep. So I understand that these reports are probably only coming out now. I don't blame these players who are waiting to kind of commit to the future until they know exactly what's around the corner. So Jota, 6.5 million. However, the wages have to be agreed if he is actually agreeing to it. Now, you've heard about this kind of hierarchy with the wage structure within a Celtic football club where, for example, I think Larsson back in the day, Larsson was always our highest earner, and of course, rightfully so, because we had a world-class player in our hands. And under Scott Brown, correct me if I'm wrong, but when Scott Brown was a captain near the end of his tenure, he was the highest wage earner. There might have been a couple of people who would parallel him, but nobody who would go above that ceiling.
I think Scott Sinclair was on more than him. I might be wrong on that one. Sure.
Was there no the story that Brown had it in his contract that he had to be the top end or he had to be matched? So I think what happened was Sinclair comes in. I think Brown was on like 33, 35, and Sinclair comes in at that kind of 40 mark. And
then Brown goes up
to it, which is quite right. I mean, 12 years at the club, captain. Yeah.
The question is, what do you guys think about the wage ceiling at Celtic? Because if you go too high, then it can upset the equilibrium. So what do you guys think about if we're lucky enough to sign Jota and possibly Cameron Carter-Vickers, and if their wage demands are higher than what we currently pay right now, how can that upset the equilibrium? And are you guys happy to commit to that, bearing in mind the Champions League bounty?
I would commit to it quite happily, and I don't think we should have a cap on our wage, like an inbuilt club cap. Obviously, the bigger story and conversation about world football caps and wages is a different thing. But for us as a club, it does feel like that cap has unofficially been there. But I don't think we should. If a guy like Jota comes around that we can sign permanently and he's asking for 40,000, I don't think that's not outrageous. And we can definitely afford that. Most certainly, even without Champions League money, we can afford that if we're signing the correct player and not over-flooding positions. And we streamline a squad in a certain way. We can afford that on a couple of players. So 40,000 for Jota, if that's what he's asking for, I would pay that because you know you're going to get that money back when you sell him and then some. Does it mean that 40,000 becomes the base point for future players or that all other players start to ask for more? No, it doesn't.
No, but
it means that 40,000 is where we start at for Jota. We sell him on, and then the next one comes in. Unless they prove to be of that caliber and then some, he gets what he's worth, 25, maybe 30.
But
you keep it going up and down. It fluctuates, surely.
The difference is that Jota and Vickers have already come in and proven themselves. at Celtic. It's not like they're just coming in.
Exactly.
Listen, if a player's agent wants to turn up and say right at the start of negotiations and say, right, here's the player you want to sign, this is what he wants a week, he wants 50 grand. That's the starting negotiation price. You don't always go right. I need borrow. There's 50 grand. You say no, hold on a minute. We negotiate. You know what I mean? We negotiate reasonably, which Celtic haven't done at times in the past.
I do think like 50 would be way too much. That would be
way
too high.
Well,
40, I don't think is an unrealistic number for top end players.
Would 50 grand a week, talking sake, for an example, on Jota, would 50 grand a week be out of the equation if we sold Barkas, Ajeti, and Bolingoli? Just the three guys, right? You might not get a massive transfer fee. You might get £3 million for the three of them, but that clears up what I can only imagine. Ajeti must be on about 25.
Probably a good 60 or so.
About 25 grand a week, I would say Ajeti's on. Barkas maybe 16, 17. Bolly maybe the same, 15, 16, 17, 18 grand a week. So add them up and put them into a fucking a deal for Jota. So if you don't want to go into your piggy bank and pay an extra X amount a week, take the money for elsewhere. If Bournemouth win tonight, I think they're playing tonight, you're getting £2 million if Bournemouth get promoted because of the sell-on clause for Ryan Christie. So there's £2 million back into the coffers. Use that to go and progress your squad. But even out with that, mate, Celtic have got money there to spend. If we want to progress as a club, then we're going to need to progress ourselves and our transfer kind of ceiling, if you want. We need to speculate to accumulate, but we need to do it sensibly. We can't just go out and pay fucking Bruno Alves 70 grand a week and get some fucking has-been guy in, you know what I mean, to come in and try and get it. Well, look, we're looking at guys within the Celtic model, guys that are 23, 24, under 25 anyway. We are good few years of age left in the coffers. We're good kind of sell on what you would imagine would be a good sell on fee, which would be attractive to potential buyers. So if you were to go out and spend an extra 10 grand on Jota, is it fucking that magnificently out of this world? No, it's 10 grand a week. Same again with Vickers. If you give them that, you know what I mean? That's fucking. We go out and spend £3 million a season on absolute dumplings, and we give them wages. You know what I mean? They hurt the guys like Kamara and that, but that was £3 million on a guy who was never going to get a game.
Exactly. So if you take those £2.5-3 million that we're wasting regularly on
that's what I mean.
Strikers, we can regularly spend 6, 7, 8 million a season on 2 or 3 strikers plus their wages. See if you just go out and buy one at 5 million and the rest of the money off of that £5 million striker, 45 grand to be our league guy, instead of paying 3 of them 15 grand.
How many times have we lost out on guys that have turned out to be top talents and have been owned for exorbitant amount of monies because we haggled over 10 grand or fucking 500,000. We lost Ivan Toney last season because we wouldn't pay an extra 5 grand or something a week. Where is he? He went to Brentford. We ended up with a jetty. We lost John McGinn twice because we fucked about. Now look at where he is, one of the best players in Scotland, for Scotland, one of the best players in the English Premier League, and you're talking fucking transfer up to about 50, 60 million. Guys like this that we need to stop fucking about with. If the manager identifies a guy and he really, really wants him, and there's a reasonable chance that you can get him, just go and do it.
I think we need to be very, very good to demand those type of wages, because if like a guy who's playing alongside him in the team and he's putting in just the same amount of effort or as a Cameron Carter-Vickers or a Jota, and by the way, we've got people who've got better stats than Jota. I know that Jota, his stats a wee bit misleading because he has a lot of overall influence in our gameplay and our lead up to things. But if you've got a guy who's been just as well as Jota and he's just as much of a fan favourite, for example, Kyogo, if we gave like 40, 50 grand per week to Jota, Kyogo, you can bet your bottom dollar, Kyogo's not going to be anywhere near that because we got him on the cheap from Japan. So I think I understand the point of view, and you're saying we'll get rid of 3 players, then you've got the money for it. Yes, we've got the money to fund at a high wage, but think about how it disrupts the morale in the club, in the dressing room, on the training ground. You've got players who put just the same amount of effort, but they're getting nowhere near that type of wage.
I
So
don't think it does.
it needs to be balanced.
If you think about where the contracts are being drawn up in relation to who and what the player's done to the point of drawing up a contract, we've signed, just for a hypothetical conversation, the example you bring up there with Kyogo, we signed Kyogo from Yokohama's. No, sorry, we signed Kyogo from Vissel Kobe, from the Japanese league. He's came with that backing, that history, that CV, and negotiated his wage and all the rest of it at that level. That's fine. Jota's coming on the back of proving himself from. If we signed Jota straight from Benfica's under-23 squad last year, just paid the 5 million, 6 million, whatever it was, right there at the time, would Jota be demanding 40,000? Probably not. Probably more 20, 22, 25. Let's be honest. He's going to demand 40 because of what he's done this season. He's proved it at Celtic. See, when it comes to the new contract negotiation for guys like Kyogo in 2 years' time or a year's time, yeah, maybe he'll start demanding 35, 40,000. Maybe he will.
That will cause an inflation. That will cause an inflation.
It could.
Microeconomics in the club.
Remember who these players are and what they're actually doing at Celtic. Kyogo's not here to play 7, 8, 9 seasons with us and retire. Kyogo's here on a 4-year contract to play 2 years and move on. The vast majority of players are going to do that. So yes, you might want extra money. And see if he proves to be absolutely phenomenal, and we really want to sign him on another 4-year deal in 2 years' time, and we want 6 years out of him, that's something that we weigh up as a club and say, okay, well, actually, you've proven to yourself to be this great. You are actually warranted this. Or we turn around in 2 years' time and say, look, we appreciate you, love you to bits. You're not what we need to be spending that money on, and we can actually get a massive chunk of money back from you for selling you, and he becomes a selling player. The situations are slightly different because of where they've came from with a CV and what they've already proven to the worth of Celtic. Kyogo hadn't proven his worth to Celtic at that point. He is now, most certainly now, and if we were to sign him as we know him right now and what he's proven it to Celtic, not just by being at Celtic, but proven to Celtic, of course he would be worth a lot more money to us.
So we'll get Red Scotland here. And by the way, obviously an appropriate name whenever we're talking about money and how it will affect the overall group. But from Red Scotland, pull all our resources together and focus on the most effective and efficient long-term solution to an endless problem, player development. The Ajax model is without question a viable way forward. But I would say that history shows that Ajax and Dutch football in general, whether you get the formula right for a couple of years or wrong for a couple of years, the formula in the Netherlands has been right for so long. And that's even regardless of what the immigration policy that you should actually take into account. Because whenever we're talking about Johan Cruyff back in the day, when Ajax won three European Cups on the trot back in the 70s, that was before the immigration policy in the Netherlands took place. And if you look at it now and compare and contrast to the Ajax team in the 90s, the amount of immigrants that they had playing for the club, and the way that club has benefited, the Dutch clubs have benefited from immigration. I think that's a big thing. But I think Dutch football in general have had their finger on the pulse. They know the right formula. And when I talk about immigration, I think that's a big thing about some of the players who have represented Dutch football clubs in Ajax over the years, and especially from the 90s onwards, who've not been originally from the Netherlands, but who've done Ajax and other clubs fantastically well in Europe. And that's something that we kind of don't benefit from. But I think in general, whatever Ajax do and the Netherlands do in general, they know something that we don't know. Because for a club and for a country that small, how well they do in Europe, they got to the World Cup finals 10 years ago against Spain. Like Scotland don't get to that. So they're doing something that we don't do. I don't know what exactly it is, but they know that trick that we are missing out on.
100%. There's a lot of comparisons you can make between Scotland and Holland in the sense of how they do things right, from their TV deals to the developments of players, the infrastructures of full-scale academies at multiple clubs in Holland. You could even go to comparisons politically about how better run things are done in Holland for the benefit of their country, for the benefit of their economy, that Scotland, for many political reasons, does not do. Now, let's not get drag down on that conversation too much. But in a pure football sense, yeah, actually a really good comparison to make. It was brought up, I think it was by Ray Scotland. If it was somebody else, I do apologise, where they agreed with me when I was saying that the Ajax team that got to the semi-final a few years ago, that apparently their wage budget was actually less than the Celtics at the time. And I recall looking into this a few years ago, around about that same time as well, and definitely around about the same time of the Brendan Rodgers first full year. Our revenue turnover, whatever you want to call it, was up to about £102 million after the Brendan Rodgers first full year. The previous year that incorporated Ronnie Dyler's second season, we were at about 54 million. We literally doubled our revenue just by bringing in a name like Brendan Rodgers. I fully believe with the Champions League football next season and with the feel-good factor of Ange here, next year's results financially will blow that 102 million out of the water. At the time when that happened, though, Ajax were only about 110 or 112 million on a revenue turnover, yet their TV deal in Holland is so much better than what Scotland is. Scotland is so poor, it's unbelievable. And when you take away the fact that the TV deal is such a big difference, it shows that actually revenue from what Celtic can make on a really good year compared to Ajax, who even back then, okay, it wasn't quite at the semi-final run. I think it was a year or two earlier than that, but they were still a massive name who are regularly showing themselves well in the Champions League group stage and into the knockout stages. They, comparatively for revenue turnover, right on a par with Celtic. There's no reason why Celtic can't go on, if run better, to actually perform reasonably well in European competitions. Again, let's look at the team across the city from us just now. They run some amount of luck, but then a semi-final of Europa League. It's possible.
When you look at Ajax, the success that they've had historically and currently, and when you look at Celtic and the restrictions that we have in Scotland, you sometimes kind of pull your hair out and say, why can't we be like them? Or
well, I mean, you look at like a team like Ajax, you know, they're in a better position because they've got more kind of freedom with the likes of work permits and that, so they can go get young guys from Cameroon or here and there, and they can mould all these young boys. They've got the Ajax link up in South Africa, things like that, so they can get obscure players from across the world, bring them up. But they absolutely take a lot of focus on their youth teams. So they mould their young players in as well as bringing in young unknown qualities. You don't really see Ajax like going out and buying a fucking world-class player, unless it's maybe been a player who's came up at Ajax and went away, like I don't know, what's the Daily Blind or something like that. Some guy that's been to Man United and then comes back later on in years. But we need to do things like that. We need to pick young guys for the youth team, integrate them in at certain points. We can't just totally ignore the youth team. We need to continue on looking at guys like your Wanyamas, guys that have unknown quantities, that haven't been given that chance by any top club, and that's where we've kind of found diamonds before. You know, you're like your Dembele's, no Kanamoko Peach, don't be getting excited. Musa Dembele, your Rodson Edwards, guys like that. So, mate, I'm really, really excited by Lowell coming in, because I know that he's got a massive kind of book of content. Keep it clean. A massive dong. No, he's clearly got massive contacts across the world. It's not just in England. It's not just in Europe. It's the world, and it's through the City Group and the work that he's done. And obviously, the main thing as well is that Ange really wants this guy in. He said it. He says, I've worked with him for 4 years. So Lowell's been at Man City and he's working with a guy in Japan for the last 4 years. Do you know what I mean? So that tells you how far across their net actually is cast and how it actually operates at a good level. So it's not like they're just using like Japan as a feeder club and just sending a couple of players there. They're actively involved with other clubs across the world. You look at Paddy Roberts, he went to one of the other clubs that's in the City Group, Girona. There's clubs in Belgium, France. There's the team in Australia. I think it's Melbourne City. Are we playing them in the cup? So there you are. That's one of the teams. You've got Yokohama Marinos. So there's a massive scope for us to bring in players. And when we talk about this guy backing up Ange and elevating Ange's philosophy already, one of the comments previous alluded to that. Ange's already been out in Australian interviews saying that he's looking to places like Saudi Arabia, Iran for players, so we are looking across the world, and we are. I genuinely think next season maybe we're going to find a few diamonds, and where we can back that up by not just being a team who's bringing in kind of unknown, kind of raw guys. We're going to get a few really good players because of this the security of knowing that we're going to play in the Champions League.
I'm going to throw a slight different question at us just before we probably move on to the next topic here. Regarding the City Group, regarding how we've been linked with them in the past. Now, I don't think for 1 minute that we'll be fully embedded into the City Group or rebranded. I don't think anybody would ever allow that crap to happen. But would any of you be against a more official partnership with the City Group? Not to the levels of Melbourne City or New York FC City, but perhaps in the Girona level where they are clearly in the City Group and they benefit from the resources that group brings without having to go through any rebranding or any of that crap.
I would be firmly resistant to that. We, our own club, we've got a richer history than Manchester City, regardless of the millions of oil money and the unscrupulous fucking means of investing money into a club. Now, Celtic, we've got a richer history. We're prettier than them. Aesthetically, we're a more beautiful football club. So, no. I'd be firmly resistant to that, and I would actually march upon Parkhead.
I need to counter that, mate. I need to disagree with you. I think
you want to be a Girona. You want to be a little brother to their big brother.
Listen, there's no like point to say that we're going to, if we were to become part of this City Group, that we're going to be just some fucking lick spittle, some kind of after fucking jizz. You know what I mean? We're a massive club, mate. Look at how much we market ourselves every year. We maintain our stance financially by our merchandise, our marketing. The City Group is massive on marketing. So for us to be able to possibly have a chance to tap into that, I think it's incredible. Now, regardless of Man City and their history and their fucking ghost town of a stadium, look at where they've came from, mate. They've came from nothing to become one of the biggest clubs in the world. And they're attracting talent left, right and centre. They're doing what big clubs do now. They hoover up all the best of young talent and they sell them on. But we can do that in a slightly different way. We can tap into that pool of players, the database. The City Group has got all tapped up because if they're in low agents, they'll be getting first refusals. They'll be getting first dibs, if you want to call it that. We don't need to be signing these young guys with the sense of we're not going to play them. We're just going to put them into the reserves and then sell them on. We can get these guys and actually give them a game instead of us being on the outside in and trying to get like a frimpong.
Right, okay, so if we are part of a group, then what do Man City get out of us? What's their why would they want to group with us? What did they get out of it?
Ange Postecoglou in 2 years' time to replace Pep Guardiola is exactly what they're getting from us. I firmly believe that connection with Ange and Mark clearly has been going on for a few years at Yokohama and stuff like that. Ange he's not a paid member of the City Group, clearly not, but he's clearly liked by the City Group to some degree. He's clearly got an in there as well, as we have to some unofficial degree here with Mark Lowell, has done for a few years, and probably more so that the unofficial link gets a little bit stronger with the fact that we're now hiring him as our head of recruitment that connection is going to be there through his own contacts. I think without, we're not paying a membership to be in a City group. We'll never would be anything like that. But they'll get something out of Celtic being the level and the size of the club that we are, unofficially connected to them, because let's remember we can't be too connected to them for European rights.
I don't buy it.
They would get the benefit of exactly things like Ange coming over, proving himself here, and they can suss out, is he good enough to take that step up? And guys like Arzani, let's not pretend that Arzani was chased by both us and the City group. City bought him and loaned about. That was through a weird connection of Mark Lawwell, Peter Lawwell, the whole thing going on there. And it's a good thing. That is honestly a good thing. We'll get that benefit. And the benefit that Man City get off the back of that, yeah, of course, Arzani never made it to the level we expected. But what if he does? He plays at a club the size of Celtic in European football on a regular basis. They get to see him, as I said 20 minutes ago, big English clubs start to see players playing at our level, playing in Europe, and start to cut out the middleman, Southampton, and just go straight to the source. We become that almost, I hate using the term, feeder club.
I don't want to be the test tube baby for Man City. That notion, no, that can fuck off. I'm not into that. Not into that at all.
But there's nothing to suggest it would be that, mate. Just because you would have a kind of a link up with a massive conglomerate group doesn't mean to say that you're then going to automatically become this kind of soulless succubus of a club who just is going to turn into Celtic City. It's not like that. You're going to be tapping into all their resources. You're going to be tapping into their database of players. As I say, you'll become, instead of having agents trying to get into Lou with young players in this database, you're going to be part of the ladder. Do you know what I mean? You're going to potentially be closer to getting these young guys in. And of course, the City group would obviously get something out of that. And in terms of Celtic, it's going to be marketing, merchandise. Look at the strides that we've made into Japan with the Japanese guys.
One other from a different angle. In the past 6 months, maybe a wee bit more, with Newcastle and Chelsea, with worldwide events right now, a lot of people are looking into the political origins of money. And I know that if we get associated with City, that's not where our money comes from. But that association, that shines a light on it, and it shows up the cracks in relationships. And I don't want to be associated with a club whose money comes from oil money, and a club whose their financial wealth originates from a certain culture, which is totally different from our own Western culture. I don't want to be associated too much to a club that ugly, and I will draw a line at that. That's where I would draw a line in the sand at that. But I don't want to get associated with that.
Fair play, good morals. Won't argue against it too much. But just a quick aye or no. Would you be against us being called the Etihad Stadium at Celtic Park if we renamed it through an unofficial link?
Well, from what I just said there, that'd be a no.
No? Okay.
One other thing, guys, I wanted to ask you about. Okay, so a happy one, Player of the Year awards. So we've got Ange, Manager of the Year, Callum McGregor, Player of the Year, Abada, Young Player of the Year, and Tam Rogic, Goal of the Year. A bit of a clean sweep there. You guys happy? Obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. It's a brilliant clean
the
sweep.
Paddy Power Stadium. Yes, the Paddy Power Stadium. I like that.
No, you, Paddy.
So Callum McGregor obviously getting Player of the Year. I think a lot of the Celtic fans were saying Cameron Carter-Vickers, but is that just kind of symptomatic of defenders don't really get the plaudits, such as Fabian Cannavaro, the Italy centre back who got the Ballon d'Or years and years ago? Is it symptomatic of that, where defenders don't get the plaudits, but it's the kind of the midfielders and the forwards who always get it? Do you think that's why Callum McGregor got it?
Yeah, I know what you're saying about defenders and stuff. They don't do the glamorous kind of work. They don't get the recognition quite as easily, so they sometimes get overlooked. I don't think that's why McGregor gets the award. I think McGregor gets the award because he's been an absolute fantastic captain and leader of this club. He's driven us forward in so many games, and he's a phenomenal player and talent. He deserves that award on his own merits. Should Carter Vickers have got it? Potentially, but I think McGregor deserves it every bit. I don't think he's got it because we don't look at defenders too well. I think it's just an unfortunate circumstance of how awards are given out, but it doesn't mean that McGregor didn't deserve it. I think McGregor's the better player. He's fundamentally the better player.
Listen, we won every award going. It wasn't just the manager award. It wasn't just the player award. It wasn't just the goal award. It was the fucking women's player as well. It was a clean sweep for Celtic, and I know McGinty absolutely loves a women's game, so he'll be delighted at young Jacinta getting the 2 awards. But again, Ange Postecoglou gets the manager. He probably wouldn't have got the manager of the year if Dick Campbell had won promotion with Arbroath, which would probably have been fair enough, but he didn't. So fuck up. So big Ange is the man. Big Ange won the main title. Callum McGregor deserves his award because he was voted for it, but you could have probably said if any Celtic player had won that award, then it wouldn't have been you wouldn't have been gutted or raging because there was so many guys that deserved it. You know, I voted for. I'm sure I voted for Vickers.
That's right. Vickers deserves it to some degree. Obviously, I definitely think McGregor overly deserves it, but there's shouts for Vickers. There's shouts for, Abada was a young player year award. If he's played a few extra games, maybe scored 2 or 3 more goals at this point, he could arguably have won both. Jota, he's up there as one of the best players in the league. He's been an absolute fantastic talent. I think at one point a few weeks ago, he's in the top 5 players for assists and goals across Europe for whatever age range and all the rest of it. There's some weird stipulation, but he's up there comparably to others. I think if Kyogo doesn't get injured, he sweeps everything. I mean, there's players across the board at Celtic who have been fantastic. Even Starfelt gets a massive shout out, not for player of the year, but for a player who's been superb for Celtic this season after his first 2 games. There's shout outs for everybody to be recognised to some level.
And I've got another question completely beside the point of that. If you want, we can finish up on this question. A bit of a negative one, but I don't mean it like that. It's a kind of a reassessing of things. I'm going to pose it to Paddy, mate, because you're looking so pensive right now. So, as the dust has settled after the game against Rangers at the weekend.
Yep.
2 questions here. How would you gauge our team's performance in the head-to-head battles over the course of the season? And the other part, has the last 2 derbies made you reassess your conviction of us being the superior team?
Head-to-head, I think we've done all right considering. Obviously, we lost the first game at Ibrox, but the performance was good for being the first game in Angie's reign at Celtic, going away to Ibrox with 0 support, like literally not one Celtic supporter there. Again, problems with being clinical up front hurt us that day. Then the next 2 games, clearly we won. We won 3-0 at Celtic Park, obliterated them out the water. Celtic Park 3-0. The game at Ibrox that we won 2-1 was a snatch and grab victory. I think we did the right things in defence, but again, that game was an indicator of how we need to balance out the flair play with some solidity in midfield, because they won the midfield. The next game that came in the semi, again, it was a continuation on. They took the midfield by force and they managed to win it. We started to look tired, and then the last game there was the same again. Midfield, we weren't strong enough. We were playing guys like Atati who shouldn't have been playing from the start, never mind fucking playing on as much as he did because he was knackered. And then again, the old problem that we had at the first game of the season, with clinicalness, whatever the fuck the word is, came back to bite us in the bum because we should have been 3-0 up, getting into half time. We didn't take our chances, and it came back to bite us in the arse. We could have lost, but again, if your auntie had fucking a dick, she'd be your uncle. So that's a fucking non-debate. But our problems with being clinical up front came back to bite us in the bum. So in terms of head-to-head in the league, it's pretty even, but we won the most important games. The semi-final, it is what it is. We lost it. It's another learning curve. So I think on paper it's pretty even, but we've just tipped the balance in other games across the season, mate. So that's the answer to your first question. What was the second question again? Sorry.
Another thing, if I could kind of add in a little bit of my own opinion. So has the last two derbies made you reassess your conviction of us being a superior team? And I will just say that when we beat Rangers 3-0 at Parkhead, yeah, I was kind of riding that wave of we are on the rise and Rangers are on the down. But the last two games, Rangers have played very, very well. Regardless of the outcomes, they played very, very well. And it has made me reassess my kind of opinion of how far ahead we are of Rangers. I think in terms of like the starting 11 and in the depth, I think we're pretty much neck and neck. I'm not going to lie.
I totally get where you're coming from there, mate. I think a lot has got ahead of ourselves, especially during that period where we were playing some amazing football. We blew them out the water. We started to. She told you when you were sucking it though. We were riding a crest of positivity, great flowing football. Then it started to linger off a wee bit, and of course, I think to a certain extent they tweaked their tactics a bit, and they've managed to hurt us in certain times. We're starting to look tired now because I think looking at the overall season, Gav, it's been a steady one for them, but because of how late we had to start, new manager in, new players, it's been a sprint for us up to a certain period. Now we're starting to lag, but we've done enough to get over the line. So we're no this fucking superior monster compared to them. They've started to come back a wee bit. They've started to find form. But the only problem for me, mate, is like the last two games against them, we've basically had our first team squad, bar Juranovic. That's been our best team. Their team has been missing so many key players, Morelos, fucking Ramsey, Jack, Balogun, whoever. Do you know what I mean? So we need to buck up our ideas, pull our socks up, give guys a rest, and hopefully that will come with the break that we're going to get in pre-season, and just being able to give guys like Tati, Maeda a break, relax, take it all in, soak up what we've done, use our failings that we've done for this season and take it into next season. Like say Europe, I think Europe is going to be a massive. I think this season's European competition is basically essentially going to become a practice for Ange, and he's going to learn from it, and he's going to learn from his mistakes. But he'll take that into the Champions League next season with a better team, a more settled team, a more fitter team, because I'm sure Antoine Macalon will get his grubby hands into the team and be able to bring the fitness levels up as well. So, all good, mate, all good.
I'm not very, very good comments. But McGinty, before we finish up with yourself, I know that you're a comment.
Sorry, Gav, there's a wee question there. I know Frank's asked this way, so sorry.
Frank Brennan, nobody's answered my question. Will Ange or Ange Ball ever get us to a European semi-final? Well, on the basis of this season, if Rangers can get to it with the strength that they have in their team, then I think the logical response would be there's no reason why we can't do that. If Rangers can do it, why can't we do it? However, I would say that I would caveat the fact that Rangers have got to where they are with a roller coaster of luck. The luck that they've had, and I know that might sound like sour grapes, but they're not fucking world beaters, even if whenever they did have Morelos in their team. But I watched their game against Dortmund in Germany, and I was looking at that Dortmund team, the way that they were playing, and I'm like, I don't recognise these guys. Obviously, Haaland was out, but I could not recognise the Dortmund team. Even when people like Jude Bellingham were playing rather poorly. It was just like a wave of luck that Rangers had. The one thing I would say in Rangers' favour is they know each other, they're comfortable with their system, but they're not world beaters. Like Ryan Kent, fucking at one point, Anthony Ralston had more goals and more assists than him in the league. So,
aye, the difference with that, Gav, is though that they're a settled team. They've been playing together the majority, like for 3 years, so they know how to play with each other. They know how guys work. You know what I mean? They've added in a few players, but they've been the same kind of core group, which in a sense is what we're benefiting for this season. When you look at the defensive pair, Starfelt and Vickers, that's a relationship that's been allowed to play regularly. So when you have players that are allowed to play regularly, they understand each other. So you times that by 3 for the entire team, then that can be a formidable foe. But next season is going to be different because we're going to have we'll have a settled team. We'll have players coming back into form. We'll have players who have got experience of winning a league, a cup, playing in Europe as well. So everybody should really be going up another level. And then hopefully we bring in some good reinforcements.
Exactly. Very, very good comment and a good question for Frank. So before we got to begin to kind of finish things off for tonight, again to the viewers who've been tuning in, whether you've been here for months and months and months, and we love you guys, we appreciate everything that you contribute. And whether you're new as well, of course, subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment. You've got no idea, by the way, those likes, those wee fucking tiny likes, don't cost you a penny. You've got no idea how much they help our podcast. And of course, especially tonight, give us a wee bell. Again, the last question, if you were to compare and contrast Celtic and Rangers, where are we right now compared to our closest rivals? Are we is it nip and tuck? What's your confidence levels like right now and moving into the new season?
I agree with Paddy in large spells. If you take all the heads-to-heads and the games that we've played, 100% it is very close, but we come out on top narrowly because we won the games that really matter. Just even. I genuinely, and this is not with the green tinty specs, I think everybody will admit to this across the land who isn't biased as hell. We play the better football. We play football. They tend not to play football when they play against us. They resort to a certain style of football that is more designed to disrupt us and stop us playing football and then get the breaks. They are good at what they can do. They are good on the counter. They aren't no mugs by any stretch. I'm not saying that absolutely dross anything, but there's a style difference where we play good football, or try to at least, and they try to stop us playing good football. They don't try and impose their game on us. They just try and stop us. You know, the Barcelona teams of years gone by have all said it about that mob as well. And I don't think they've changed too much in the either disguise of their club or in recent years. I think they still play the same way. So for me, yeah, there's not much between the clubs currently in this season, but there's reasons for that, which is, again, going back to what Paddy was saying, guys like Hitati and the Japanese boys, even general fitness in this squad is atrocious. We saw it all last year. We know what Lennon was all about when it comes to training and fitness. Non-existent. We all know that. We're not going to go over the old ground here too much. But you bring guys in like Anton McKellar or whatever his name is, sorry, I butchered the fuck out of that. But you bring these guys in to try and help with the physio and stuff. Ange has made these comments right at the start of the season that the fitness levels are not where he needs them to be. We've had the conversations with the Aussie boys on all the social media and stuff. We know the first season is an absolute burnout of a season. We're seeing it and we're managing ourselves through it. The January transfer window with the Japanese boys coming in has helped us massively manage this. I generally think with this potential 10 weeks off, with obviously preseason in there, we're going to come back a completely rejuvenated, aggressive team next year. And we're just going to blow that. We've got every chance of completely destroying this domestic scene next year and giving Europe a massive crack. Let's take a look back at the fixtures of Europe. Just on European, as Paddy's saying, it's probably been a big learning curve. We got pumped 4-0 off Leverkusen to then almost take them and we got beat 3-2 in the second tie of that kind of head-to-head. We almost took them. The turnaround against Betis. I mean, Betis and Leverkusen are massive clubs when it comes to the caliber of clubs that we're coming up against, and we're going toe-to-toe with these teams. They're the kind of teams you need to be beating in the Europa League to get to the semi-finals without running your luck and getting your Bragas and all the rest of it. These are big clubs. We're almost there. I think next year we will be.
Yes, mate. Yes.
A burnout. Let's be honest. We were burnt out. We have been for months. It's no real big excuse, but the second game we played against them, clearly by that lineup, unofficially speaking, nobody's going to admit it from the club themselves. We let that go.
We seriously underestimated Bodo or Budu.
We did, but then this is a club that's for 4 years have had that manager in place and have, they've brushed that team into a well-gelled and well-organised team, almost like a set of well-pristine teeth. They're just well-drilled into what they do. Sorry, that's a weird way of getting that random quote in there.
The big yellow toothbrush.
They are a well-organised team for the last 4 years under this current manager that they've got. They've beat Roma. They've taken big scalps. They're no mugs. They're the kind of team that we're looking to be building ourselves into at a higher level, of course. But we're looking to build into that mold with an Ange backing us. It's a 2, 3, 4 year process here where we're just going to get progressively better and better, stronger, and improve and show ourselves up very well in European football, I think.
Aye, I agree with you, mate. And just to answer the last question there, I don't want to leave you hanging, Jamie Young. Is it true Jota wants 45k per week and Carter Vickers wants 53k per week? That's something.
Can I bring that Vickers one up? Because Gavin mentioned this in the group chat earlier as well, that seemingly Vickers is on that sort of wage at Spurs just now. He is not. He's on around about 20k. And remember, he signed a 4 or 5 year deal about the age of 19. He's on about 20k. His contract's running out. He was in no place at the age of 19 at Spurs to be demanding 50, 60k, and he's still at no place to be demanding that, and I don't think he will.
No. The next contract that he signs right now is going to have a massive bearing on his financial future for the rest of his life, because that's
of course.
A footballer has to cram in the money for like that 10, 15 years that they're lucky enough to be a footballer for. So
I'm saying we should give him that 30, 35. He should be on that bracket because he clearly is that good. At our level, he's that good. He should be on that money. Is he going to get 53? Of course not. He's never going to get that, but he's nowhere near that just now.
And again, as you said, like you're a complex man and you feel many things. So, is there any other comments that you wanted to talk about?
The big octopus like that.
Sorry.
What was the rubbing of the nipples about?
You said at the very start of the start of the podcast, I asked you a question, and you said that you're a cop.
Aye, I remember that, but what was your rubbing of your nipples?
You're a complex man, and you feel many things. I'm like,
welcome back, McGinty.
yeah. Welcome back.
Pretty sure I didn't rub my nipples at the start of this.
Aye, but you know you want to.
Guys, to the viewers again, thank you for tuning in. So today's Tuesday. We'll be back for the Celtic and Hearts game Saturday. I'm off to the game, but I'm going to be driving right back home to do a podcast. McGinty, you're doing a country walk in the Shetlands. Is that correct?
I stupidly but awesomely decided to do a charity walk on my own on Saturday, so completely missing the game 100%.
It's on your own, yes?
No, there's a whole team of us from my work. We're doing a wee kind of run just because we're all daft and decided to walk.
Go on, McGinty. Get him a rub. Go, yes! Need to start getting donations for us.
Pat, what are you doing on Saturday after the Hearts game?
I'm going out on Friday night, so I'm going to be
Hang on.
I'll probably be on here still pissed. But I'll wait for your good self to come back, and we'll churn out another one for the guys. And hopefully, mate, the next time we all speak, it'll be on Saturday, and we'll be sitting here as league champions and sitting here, and we're going to be playing that lovely tune for the Champions League with the string quartet and all that. Oh,
I'm not singing it.
I'll sing it naked.
By the way,
is this when we mute him?
On a parallel universe, if there was a football club in the Shetlands and Celtic somehow had to go to the Shetlands to play this club, would it be because somebody mentioned it earlier on, like Paddy mentioned it, like having to play against like sheep and on a plastic turf? If we had to play a team in the Shetlands, would it be on a plastic turf, and would sheep be in the vicinity?
No, but you might have to do it off one pier to a boat and make some sort of. We don't really have technology up here. I feel like we might need to plug Paddy's OnlyFans page again here.
Yeah, we're getting an overflow from the Paddy fans. The OnlyFans.
By the way, if anybody thinks they're being serious, no, I've not got one yet. But if there's enough interest, then I'll start one.
Well, he can ask you a question, the revenue that you're pulling in right now from an unknown online source. So you best to clear it one way or another.
Who you the fucking tax man, Hector? Are you the face painter? You owed £1.
I am the Germans. Right, again, to the viewers. Again, ring that bell, please. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a comment. We love you. Yeah, we do. Catch you.
Good night.